What's that? Did I hear trauma? Oh, sweet trauma. Cannot spell trauma without a mwah. Trauma. Well, good evening, laddies, lasses, and lazos. Welcome to the click. You smell absolutely astounding today. And don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. Are you interested in traumatizing your neighborhood in a very cute and fluffy way? Well, me too. That's why this year we are releasing Halloween plushies. Oh my god, look, they're so cute. Okay, let me introduce you. This right here is like zombie Frankenstein emotional support demon. One of my personal favorites. It's very cute, very detailed, very spooky. This one right here, Pumpkin ESD, very chunky, very cute, has toe beans. Of course, everything has toe beans. You cannot have a Halloween without toe beans. Adorable, very glowy, very nice. And this one, the Ghost Mango. Look at that. Oh my god, he's so cute with his little ghost costume. He also has a little like spooky bow tie. And after Halloween season is over, you can also remove the costume and have a custom collar mango. Oh my god, he's so cool and badass, isn't he, with red eyes? Ah, he's so beautiful. So anyway, today we are gonna look into something absolutely beautiful. You know when you're walking through life and someone is like mean or says something really inappropriate, but they always turn out to be so sensitive for some reason. Isn't that weird? Like the rude people are always the sensitive ones. It's absolutely amazing. And that is why a methodology to deal with these people that we have developed online over the last couple of years is TraumatizeThemBack. And there is a subreddit dedicated to this called TraumatizeThemBack. So welcome to r/TraumatizeThemBack, where we give inspiration to you about how to traumatize mean people right back. Enjoy. Mwah. r/TraumatizeThemBack. Don't like femboys? What do you think of my skirt? I, 18M, am a femboy. I like dressing up and I like to look pretty. Anyway, I told a friend that I was a femboy, and he responded with negativity and general non-acceptance. It was at this moment I remembered the pic I had taken the night before. I had already blurred out my face. I look too masculine and I don't like it. I showed him the picture and said, well, this girl really likes me for who I am. What do you think of her? He said a lot of positive things like, oh, you're so lucky, and can I meet her? When he asked if he could meet her, I said, well, you kind of have. I then went on to explain that it was a pic of me, hair down in thigh highs and a skirt. He simply stared at me, dumbstruck. Aw, did you awaken something in your toxic little friend, perhaps? Oh, that is so funny. He simply stared at me, dumbstruck, mouth wide open. The bell rang and I added, you got my number. Call me for a good time. Right in front of his girlfriend. Whoa, wait a second. Did he do all of this in front of his girlfriend as well when you showed a picture of what he thought was the girl and he started complimenting her and be like, oh, when can I meet her? That's a fine piece of meat. You know, when he was going off in that direction, was his girlfriend right next to him while he was doing that? Are you sure this is a friend? This just sounds like an absolute butthole. He has not made fun of my femininity again. Negative and unaccepting. Disrespect his girlfriend. You sure this dude's a friend? Yeah, that's my takeaway too. This doesn't sound like a friend. This sounds like the sort of person that is a default acquaintance because you happen to be in the same class. You meet tons of those kind of people in life, and as you get older, you realize who is a real friend and who you actually stay connected to, and who was just like a acquaintance of circumstance. And sometimes acquaintances of circumstance are also buttholes, but you're kind of like forced to be pleasant sort of because you meet them every day or whatever. But yeah, no, this doesn't sound like a friend, fam. Regardless, it's always great to make people eat their words, lol, or eat their own shit. That sounds different when you say it out loud. Lol, keep up the attitude and style. Man, this is beautiful. Femboys out here traumatizing the high school friends. Isn't this beautiful? Maybe utopia isn't so far away after all. Back when you couldn't wear a hat in school. Why was that a rule in schools? Racism? I don't know. But my sophomore year of high school, I was receiving chemotherapy for Hodgkin's lymphoma and had permission from the school to wear a hat. Even after the principal sent out multiple memos to the staff, I would still get the occasional teacher to try to shame me for it. Imagine this, me walking into class when the teacher says in the most Karen voice you can think of, excuse me, but you can't wear hats in school. So I just slowly take it off and reveal my chemotherapy baldness. The look on her face. Oh my god, doesn't she read Her emails? Oh my god. I wonder if she realized in the moment, like,
that's why the kid had like special treatment. I remember reading an email header about that. Maybe I should have opened it.
you know, for being an institution that is trying to teach people how to read, maybe you should learn how to read. That seems like a good first step. Recruiter asked why it took me so long to finish college. Shut her up real quick. I am surprised people still ask this sort of question, because it's literally like walking through a minefield, but every second step is potentially a landmine. At some point, you would imagine that you get traumatized back, that you would just stop asking it, right? I'm surprised it's still this common. I applied for a job and was invited to an interview. The interview was going well, and the recruiter looked at my resume and saw that I am just now about to get my bachelor's. I am 26 years old. She asked,
"About to graduate? Just now? Oh my. Why is that? What took you so long?"
I wonder what sort of answer she's actually expecting when asking this question. It's like, oh gee, it's gonna be either family trauma, or it's gonna be, I had to work for a couple of years for financial reasons, or it's gonna be like, you just want me to admit that I'm stupid or something. What are you expecting? None of the answers seem to lead to like a productive conversation. Anyway, so I told her, well, my dad was sick with cancer. Sounds like it was option number 1 after all. Oh gee, talk about traumatize them back. He just died, so I am finally able to focus on my studies. She just looked at me, lowered her head and said,
"Oh, I'm sorry."
Yeah, I bet you are. Stop asking dumb f***ing questions. Yeah, I hope it's the last time she asked a question like that. That is absolutely ridiculous. And my condolences. I hope you're able to mourn with your family together. That sounds absolutely awful. But it's something weird about recruiting processes, and it feels like they have gotten way worse in the last 5 years or so, where people are just jumping through hoops and asking way too invasive questions that I do believe are even illegal to ask in some contexts. So yeah, absolutely wild. I don't know what's happened to the job market, but it's absolutely gross. And they say trans people are the perverts. I am an AFAB trans non-binary with an uncommon appearance. I use testosterone but still hadn't had a mastectomy. So think beard plus boobs on top of not always wearing androgynous or masculine clothes. Some adults can realize I'm AFAB, but I know how much of a mystery I can be to kids. When they're the children of friends, they usually ask me some stuff that I'm glad to answer in the most simple and age-appropriate way. But when they're strangers, I can see them staring curiously. Most of the time, as soon as the kid's parent spots me, they make a huge noticeable effort to not let their child see me, which kind of sucks, but I'm used to it. One day though, I was at the mall when I noticed a boy, he looked 5-ish, staring at me. I waved and he ran closer to his mom. I paid no mind after that, but soon I felt someone touching my shoulder. It was the mom with the little boy in tow. He was pouting and I couldn't hear exactly what he was saying since I had my headphones on, but it sounded like,
"You're lying to me." "Excuse me? Can you tell my kid that you're a girl?"
I was taken aback, so I asked her to repeat myself.
"My little kid's name is asking why you're a boy wearing a skirt and won't believe me when I say you're a lady. Can you explain to him you were born a lady?"
At that time, the boy was trying to let go of his mother's hand while affirming she was lying to him. I was caught off guard for a moment, but she stood there in front of me waiting for an answer. So I remembered something I told my little cousin. Once she asked me what I really was and said a single phrase. So you're asking me, an adult stranger, to talk about my genitals with your child. Oh, that's the best universe ever. It's you that are the perverts. I'm just out here inquiring about people's genitals. That has always struck me as such an interesting, twist of irony, right? Usually, if you go up and ask people about their genitals, if I, for example, went up to someone in the workplace or something like that and be like, "Hey, what's up? What's in your pants?" I would probably be smacked down for harassment, and for very good reason. You don't do that. That is sexual harassment territory. But as soon as it has to do with, trans topics or anything like that, people just lose their shit. They're like, You can't be sexual harassy if it's a trans person. Man, just take a step back and realize what you're saying is absolutely insane. Her face changed from sheer entitlement to the expression of a deer in headlights. And she just stumbled away while muttering something along the lines of,
It wasn't like that. Don't put it that way."
Oh boy, that was satisfying. And it's such an interesting concept as well, because this is something I see happening over and over and over again. It's a surprisingly common thing to happen. And I think sort of what it is that people like this are so blinded by just trans. The topic is so huge that it just blinds them to anything else. And they forget that, sexual harassment is a thing. Maybe I shouldn't go around and pry about people's private parts. But because this topic is so big to them for some reason and so confusing, they just forget about everything else. Like, hey, maybe in general we don't go around and inquire about people's genitals. No? Maybe that's a good first step. It's just funny how you hear the transphobic and homophobic people saying that they don't want their children hearing or learning about the LGBT community, but yet they will come straight up to you in public and ask what's in your pants. It's like, I'm not the sexual creep. I'm just casually inquiring, for the sake of education, about what's in people's pants, It's like a little bit of game of surprise what's in the box or whatever. It's just it's fun, but you're the creep. You're the creep. Did you know that today's episode is sponsored by Raycons, baby? Oh, yes. That was unhinged. Anyway, if you haven't pulled the trigger on a pair of Raycons, or even if you have but you're in the market for another pair because they're just that good, now it's time to check them out because they just launched their new upgraded model of the best-selling everyday earbuds. The upgraded everyday earbuds offer everything you love about Raycons and some more, because now you also get ergonomic design and multi-point connectivity that lets you pair with 2 devices at once and active noise cancellation. Personally, I really enjoy the 32-hour battery life and their new quick charge function. 10 minutes of charging yields 90 minutes of battery. The active noise cancellation makes them a perfect choice for traveling or noisy environments, or if you just want to relax. I also enjoy bringing my Raycons to the gym because they are weatherproof and sweat resistant. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description box or go to buyraycon.com/to-click to get 15% off your Raycon purchase plus free shipping. Thank you so much, Raycon, for sponsoring this video. And now, back to the memes. Mwah. Hit my brother because he tried to lie about me hitting him. 14 years ago, I, 12F, was chilling in my room when my little brother, 7M, came into my room and screamed that I had hit him. Oh, this is like some typical sibling drama, isn't it? I didn't even notice him, and my mom came in and grounded me for hitting him. Oh, what a lying little jerk! That's the funny thing with kids, right? They really ping-pong between being like lying little manipulative shits and being the most wholesome little pure beings ever. It is so fascinating. I think it's something to do with learning to push boundaries and that sort of thing, just kind of human evolution and where to settle in your aggressiveness in general, or something like that. Probably. I don't know. Not a child psychologist. I just find it really fascinating that children are like that. When I'm playing with my nephew and stuff, it's like, it's so cute, he's kicking his little football or playing with a little car or something like that. And I see stuff like this, a little manipulative gaslighter is just trying to get people around him in trouble for no reason. Little sociopath. Since I was already being punished for hitting him, I walked up to my brother and punched him as hard as I possibly could in his sternum and said, "Well, looks like I'm grounded." My mom looked at me a bit stunned, and I think she caught on that my brother had lied to her. My brother never tried that poo ever again, and for good reason. Oh my god! I mean, that's sort of like how it goes, isn't it? If you're gonna get punished for something you didn't do, might as well do it, might as well enjoy the crime if you're gonna go to jail anyway. Okay, that can sound really bad, depending on the context. But in instances like this, perhaps, kids being stupid, I suppose. Oh man. My little brother done this. If you touched him passing in the hall, he would go down like a soccer player, and we would get in trouble. Gonna get in trouble regardless, lay him out. He stopped. Is this a thing that happened repeatedly across multiple... Wait, is this a normal occurrence? Is this something that happens to a lot of children? This is wild. I was the little brother in a similar situation, but my big sisters were smart. Instead of hitting me after several instances, they convinced my dad to lurk nearby as I went past them, and he caught me in the act. Not only did I get smacked by dad, he didn't believe me when my sisters did attack me for the next month or so, until he saw one incident. I learned to not be the boy who cried wolf. Oh, so the whole situation got turned around. Man, children really do suck, don't they? It's the first child is just lying, trying to get the sisters in trouble, then he gets the consequences for that, and then they get back at him by just attacking him because now he's the boy who cried wolf. They would get in trouble for actually doing it. And then they get in trouble when the dad eventually catches on that that's what's happening. Oh my god. Kids suck, man. Is this why adults don't want to deal with like relationship drama? Because there is enough drama at home with your kids like lying back and forth? Is that what it is? Like life always has a constant level of drama. It's just different drama. Either it's like heartbreak and stuff and oh my god, did you see what Courtney said about me? But when you're like 30 plus and start having kids or whatever, then it's just this drama like, oh, Courtney lied about smacking Tom, but Tom was lying, but then Courtney started lying because nobody believed him after. Drama. It's always there, it just changes origin. Dentist gets too personal. Then I do. So we went to the dentist and they wanted to know about my daughter's history. I filled out the paperwork and he starts to ask about when she was 9 and she was hospitalized. I already put on there that it was a bad time, but she got help. The person there kept asking my daughter more and more detail about why she was in the hospital. That seems weirdly invasive. I imagined, it would be something like, oh, did you get any medication when you were there? Or are you on something regularly that would interfere with something we're doing now for a treatment? That would be like a typical question. This feels oddly invasive for the wrong reasons. I kept saying that it doesn't matter to this consult. Finally, the man got me angry enough to give him the answer he wanted because he wouldn't stop badgering my daughter. I calmly said, if you really want to know what happened, she was 9 years old when she was R-worded. It took us all those years and a lot of work to get over it. Oh my god, why do you keep pushing? Get the hint, Jesus Christ, fam. And even if it wasn't like this specifically, which sounds so absolutely horrible and traumatizing, and you just brought that up again for no reason, that you're just being pushy. This is not even relevant. Like, trust them when they say it's not relevant. But even if it isn't that, it could still be something else that is traumatizing. The kid was hospitalized. Do you think it's really good to drill about that? Like, if they were hospitalized, it was probably quite traumatizing one way or another, Like, what the f***? The rest of the time in the office was so easy, but he bumbled a lot afterwards. Yeah, as he should. Maybe he learned his lesson about not asking weirdly invasive questions about trauma. That is, yikes. Why won't you just have a drink? I discovered the sub today and started grinning manically. This is my favorite pastime. My sister died of alcoholism when I was 20 and in college. I am 22 now. I never really liked alcohol very much in general. The intoxicated feeling makes me feel strange. Usually they don't taste good and sometimes drinks can make my stomach upset. I still have a fruity something or another on rare occasion. People are so gosh darn pushy about drinking though. I'm sure you know what I mean if you don't drink. People would be like, you're in college. What do you mean you don't want to drink? You're 21. What do you mean you don't want to go bar hopping? Always trying to shove drinks down my throat. Always trying to get me to just try something. It is incredibly irritating. Yeah, that is not the way to go about it. We had a saying back in uni, and it's that you can have fun without alcohol as well. And then we switched that up to like, you can have a boring evening even if you're drunk as well. I think that was a pretty good sell, It was okay not to drink, and most of the time, people wouldn't even notice, because they were, like, tipsy and drunk themselves, so if you were just going around, like, a bit sugary high or something like that on a late night, like, you could vibe with people anyway. Like, it was fine. People that are so pushy about this are really weird. If someone offers me something I don't want, I will answer with I don't like drinking very much at their first, why? If they push, though, I love busting out the dead sister card. Oh, come on, why do you want to drink? Oh, well, my sister died of alcoholism. I watched her pass away from internal bleeding and organ failure in the hospital. After that, drinking just makes me feel uncomfortable. The faces people make to that are so spectacular. I am aware this makes me a butthole. I mean, maybe it makes you a butthole, but I would put this in the category where you're a justifiable butthole. Like, you're a butthole, but you're a correct butthole. They keep pushing about this thing, and it's okay to have personal reasons not to do things. One positive aspect to drinking and stuff in general, I have noticed, is when you start getting older, the amount of people that are really pushy about everyone drinking also seems to drastically decrease. I think partially it is because hangovers are just generally worse when you're older, so more and more people are less likely to drink more on like casual occasions. Maybe that's it, or maybe it's just people getting mature. I don't know, but one way or another, it seems to work. No, the people that push alcohol are buttholes. Facts. It gets better when you're older. People begin to pull their heads out of their butts a bit more when they age and realize there is other reasons for not drinking besides being a stick in the mud. Indeed. And I mean, personal reasons are personal reasons. Like, God, I have avoided drinking sometimes just because I know that, for example, if I drink too many sour things, my stomach is gonna be a mess the next day. And I don't even have to drink a lot. It's like, ooh, if I have 2 tasty margaritas that are a bit too sour, my stomach is gonna be an absolute disaster, both during the night and the day after is gonna be ruined, and I'm not even gonna be hungover. It wasn't even fun to drink because it wasn't enough alcohol to even feel it, but the stomach is just... So yeah, there are plenty of reasons to, like, take it easy when it comes to various things, and that is okay. And any reason that you feel justifies not drinking is a good enough reason, and you don't have to justify it to anyone else. It's up to you, and that is perfectly fine. This kind of, like, alcohol pressuring is very immature. Period talk. Ooh, the peak trauma. I happened to be feeling a bit nauseous one day of work and mentioned it. My older male boss says, maybe you're pregnant. I said right back to him, I don't think so, I just finished my period. He proceeds to get all, oh no, gross, you know how they do. I just said to him, oh, so you want to talk about my uterus, but you don't want to talk about my uterus. Got it. He never mentioned pregnancy around me ever again. Yeah, this is the wildest part, right? People that are so easily offended about, like, oh my god, it's so gross, oh my god. You were literally making comments about a potential pregnancy. I mean, talk about being hyper-invasive and be like, oh, your body and stuff. But it's like, oh no, don't talk about your body. You're not allowed to talk about your body, but I am allowed to talk about your body. Don't you see how it works? It's so convenient. For me. I love traumatizing men with my period. Had a coworker throwing a fit because I was in the bathroom too long. It was less than 7 minutes. And he asked me what I was doing in there. Okay, even if it's not even period related, even if they asked me, right, as a dude, coming out of the bathroom being like, oh my god, what took you so long? Do you want me to describe my dump in great detail? What? It's a bathroom. What do you think I was doing? Do you want me to describe it for what the Anyway, let's keep reading, shall we? I proceeded to talk about period shits to him, and he ran past me going, no, never mind, and never asked me if I was in the bathroom again. You see, yeah, exactly. It's like, even if it wasn't period related, it would be like, yeah, I had too much Taco Bell last night, and I spray painted the company toilet. Like, do you want me to, is that what you want, Steve? Is that what you want for the company, Steve? That workplace was toxic, though. I had a supervisor start recording and timing all my bathroom breaks. Yeah, that sounds pretty toxic. I think when workplaces go in that direction, they have completely missed the point of everything that is important. Everything from, like, actual results to, like, the satisfaction of the people that actually work for you. If you start counting the amount of minutes someone spend in the bathroom instead of what they actually deliver and their actual results, you have completely lost the plot, my friend, and you should not be an employer. My mom thought she could train me to like cilantro. I proved her wrong. Isn't cilantro one of those things that's like genetical? Like half the people think it tastes fine and half the people think it tastes like soap? Isn't that an actual thing? How are you gonna train someone? Okay, anyway. So when I was small, my mom had this weird obsession of, if you eat something enough, you will like it eventually. Okay, that can be true for like some things, or like you get used to something, right? But probably not this, and I don't see the reason why you would push so hard for it. That is weird. And didn't believe me when I would just gag on merely the smell of cilantro. Thought I was just acting. She even said she didn't like it when she was small and the taste grew on her when she ate it enough. Tasty soap. I remembered coming home from school and smell the cilantro before entering the door and know that I would be forced to sit through a cilantro hot pot night. One day, I don't know what got into her head, and she decided to make what she called cilantro soup. The ingredients are as follow: water, cilantro, salt. Okay, that would be severely gross, independent of which herb you're using. Like, you could use basil for this, and it would be gross. Like warm basil water? Basil is delicious, in the right context. This sounds awful. No matter what you put in it, this is trash. I imagine this would sound awful even for someone who likes cilantro. Yeah, it sounds awful no matter what you put in it. Like just heating something up in like splashy water. Ooh, what is this? Like some nice juice on a warm summer day? No, this is boiled basil. She put a whole full bowl of it in front of the TV and asked me to drink it, adding a bunch of health information she read about cilantro, trying to persuade me while I'm gagging on the smell of it. Ah, yes indeed, how to convince kids. Hey, I printed this like vitamin list of cilantro. I'm gonna read loud to you while you throw up. Good childhood memories. At last, she gave up and just ordered me to drink it. Ah yes, when the vitamin list couldn't convince you, it's just ordering. That is great. I take a sip and dry gag vigorously and visibly. My stomach is literally cramping and I am 0% acting. I told her I'm about to throw up and I cannot finish the soup. She told me to stop acting and just pinch my nose and down the whole thing if I didn't like it. Why this obsession? Why? Oh my god. Okay. Life can be difficult sometimes, right? And sometimes you need to push through things that are unpleasant or just not nice. That goes for everyone. Sometimes life sucks. But you don't have to artificially enhance the amount of suckiness. You don't have to force feed someone something they obviously don't like. That also isn't a particularly important source of nutrients or whatever. I've never met someone who like downs a box of cilantro for like health reasons or whatever. Like, come on fam, what the hell? I pinch my nose and take the whole bowl like a shot. Seconds after swallowing, I breathe in and let out a sigh of relief. And then the strong smell of cilantro was brought up to my nose with a sigh. My stomach cramps immediately and I throw up all over the TV and we both stand there, silently looking at my vomit painting masterpiece for seconds. She never asked me to eat anything with cilantro that day on, and will warn me about having cilantro in a certain dish. Okay, so after like literally making your child throw up, you finally learn your lesson. She will even ask me if I want to go to my room when her church friends wants to come over for cilantro hot pot, and will cook separate meals for me the days like that. Okay, that's kind of a wholesome ending. She still obviously pushed it way too far initially, but at least she's treating it like, you know, something you legitimately don't like, sort of like an allergy, I suppose. That's nice. That's a happy ending, but man, the fact that you had to throw up on the TV to make that happen is kind of wild. To this day, I still hate cilantro, but my body reacts less vigorously now, and I can swallow with a straight face if I accidentally eat some. Oh, look at that, maybe the training paid off. No, but seriously, some stuff does get less intense as you get older, and some stuff gets more intense and then less intense. For example, I believe beer and the bitterness that comes with it doesn't taste bitter to small children because they haven't really developed the bitterness in their mouth yet, so they won't taste the bitterness in beer when they're young enough. And then when you get a bit older, beers taste like absolute garbage because the bitterness is more enhanced in your mouth, basically. And then when you get even older and you start drinking legally, basically, then it tastes better again because the bitterness is less intensely received. So yeah, it's interesting. Stuff tastes differently depending on age as well. Some old ladies try to lecture me about my tattoos, so I show them my mother's and my husband's tattoos. My husband, my own mother, and I have decided to visit my husband's family. They live in a small-town, remote European village. He would always tell me the villagers, especially old women from his hometown, are overly religious and nosy. I thought it would be okay since we will be there only for a couple of hours, and we don't plan to do anything scandalous anyway. Fast forward to the visiting time. My mother-in-law invited a couple of her friends after we arrived, since they were curious about her new bride. And oh my god, those ladies were insufferable. They stared at me at every opportunity, judging my dyed hair and my ear piercings with their grimaces. I ignored their stares. We were going to be here for a few hours, and I thought it wasn't worth making a scene over a few women I might never see again in my life. But one of them saw my arm tattoo and said, "Oh, you shouldn't doodle on your body." And then they all started commenting about how I should be ashamed of myself for harming the body God gave me, and how unlucky my mother-in-law is for such a person to marry her son. Then I called my own mother and told her, calmly, that this woman was interested in my tattoo. What they didn't know was that my mother had the same tattoo too. My mother proudly showed them her tattoo and told them that the tattoo represented my late father and how much it meant to her that I got the same tattoo as her. Oh my god, that's amazing. Oh, this is beautiful. Oh, this is beautiful. Then I playfully asked my mother to show them her other tattoos, and she pulled up her sweater to reveal her other arm, covered in tattoos. Their faces were priceless. Then my husband joined us, and add fuel to the fire, I asked him to show them his tattoo as well. Oh no, poor husband with his wife that got tattoos. Anyway, husband, show them your tattoos as well. Damn, really just shooting that down instantly. Oh, that is beautiful. When we got home, my mother asked me why I was behaving like that about the tattoos. When I told her what happened, she said, "If you told me earlier, we would have made them believe your grandmother's birthmark was a tattoo as well." I think people like this, like the old women in this story, are just people with some sort of weird superiority complex that are also really petty, that just use any excuse to exercise that pettiness and that sense of superiority. In this case, it's their little towny, wowny feelings, or maybe it's like the religious stuff or whatever it might be, but it seems like whatever it is in life they could grasp at, they would just grab that and use it as an excuse to be as petty and shitty as possible behind the guise of some bigger organization or something. It is surprisingly common. Amazing. Got called fat at grandma's funeral. I, 37M, flew home for grandma's funeral this past weekend. She and I were very close. I have PTSD and it affects my memory, so a lot of the people I met at the funeral I had already met and forgotten about. My dad has a ton of cousins, and one of them came up to meet me at the front of the chapel. I have met him before, but it's been many years and I really don't remember him. We shook hands and traded names, and he said, "The last time we met, you were much slimmer." Before I could even think about what to say, my mouth opened and I loudly blurted out, "Oh man, you don't have to tell me I'm fat. I got a mirror and I have to look at this big old belly every single day." I rubbed my belly and poked it out to make it look bigger, like I was pregnant. He immediately ran off and didn't come back. I told my immediate family of the story and they laughed and said he was an asshole pretty much all the time, so he had it coming. I feel like grandma would be proud that I gave him a taste of his own medicine. Yeah, what is it with these people? Like the most a-holy people that cross every boundary are always the most sensitive ones. Like, oh, someone mildly clapped back. Oh my god. Oh. It's so weird. It is so weird, man. It's like they never encountered anyone who ever clapped back at their shenanigans. It's so wild to me. Maybe he will think twice about doing it again. 'Cause I should have a baby even if I was SA'd, right, Mom? Trigger warning, mentions of SA. So my parents, most notably my mom, are very conservative, so I often go out of my way to avoid uncomfortable conversations since I don't share the same views and opinions as them. I don't remember what the context of the conversation was. This happened about a year or two ago. But my mom was talking about a pro-life stuff and how it's wrong to end pregnancies no matter the situation. I made a face since I don't agree, and my mom got pretty upset with my lack of support to her opinion. I mentioned about victims of SA and how they should get an option to end the pregnancy, especially if it was forced upon them. My mom began to argue back, but I interrupted her by reminding her of the time I was SA'd in their home in my own bed while they were on vacation by someone I trusted, and according to her logic, if I got preggo, I would have had to raise a child that I didn't want and was forced upon me by someone else's actions. I was 18 at the time. I also reminded her that when I first told my parents about the assault, they were more mad that I had a boy over rather than what happened to me. Oh my god, yeah, trademark parents, Jesus Christ, when you're more upset about an 18-year-old, like dating and that sort of stuff, than the awful thing that happened to your own child. Your priorities are so messed up, man. It was my second naughty encounter with anyone, and I asked her if that outcome would be something she would have wanted for me. Needless to say, she had no response to it. Instead, she got very uncomfortable and just changed the subject. We have never had this conversation ever since. The only moral abortion is my abortion sums this mindset up perfectly. When it happens to others, some people struggle with empathy. When it happens to them, they believe a different standard should apply. Oh yeah, this link's an actual article and I want to read some stuff of it because it's very interesting. It has to do with this subject. Joyce Arthur's page, "The Only Moral Abortion is My Abortion, When the Anti-Choice Choose" by Joyce Arthur. Abortion is a highly personal decision that many women are sure they will never have to think about until they're suddenly faced with an unexpected pregnancy. But this can happen to anyone, including women who are strongly anti-choice. So what does an anti-choice woman do when she experiences an unwanted pregnancy herself? Often she will grin and bear it, so to speak. But frequently she opts for the solution she would deny to other women: abortion. In the spring of 2000, I collected the following anecdotes directly from abortion doctors and other clinic staff in North America, Australia, and Europe. The stories are presented in the provider's own words, with minor editing for grammar, clarity, and brevity. Names have been omitted to protect privacy. I have done several abortions on women who have regularly picketed my clinics, including a 16-year-old schoolgirl who came back to picket the day after her abortion, about 3 years ago. Oh my god, I wonder if she was pushed by family or people around her to do that. During her whole stay at the clinic, we felt that she was not quite right, but there was no real warning bells. She insisted that the abortion was her idea and assured us all that it was okay. She went through the procedure very smoothly and was discharged with no problems. A quite routine operation. The next next morning, she was with her mother and several schoolmates in front of the clinic with the usual anti-posters and chants. It appears that she got the abortion she needed and still displayed the appropriate anti-views expected of her by her parents, teachers, and peers. Physician, Australia. That is so sad, man. That is so sad. I've had several cases over the years in which the anti-abortion patient had rationalized in one way or another that her case was the only exception. But the one that really made an impression was the college senior who was the president of her campus Right to Life organization, meaning that she had worked very hard in this organization for several years. As I was completing her procedure, I asked what she planned to do about her high office in the RTL organization. Her response was a wide eye, "You're not going to tell them, are you?" When I assured her I was not, she breathed a sigh of relief, explaining how important that position was to her and how she wouldn't want this to interfere with it. I swear to God, this reminds me so much of those representatives, like high representatives in the legal system in the US who are very anti-abortion. And then it always comes out, like, oh, scandal, this high-up judge or whatever who's anti-abortion had 4 mistresses and all of them had abortions. It's like, bruh, come on, everything is just hypocrisy at this point. In 1990, in the Boston area, Operation Rescue and other groups were regularly blockading the clinics, and many of us went every Saturday morning for months to help women and staff get in. As a result, we knew many of the antis by face. One morning, a woman who had been a regular sidewalk counselor went into the clinic with a young woman who looked like she was 16 or 17 years old, and obviously her daughter. When the mother came out about an hour later, I had to go up and ask her if her daughter's situation had caused her to change her mind.
"I don't expect you to understand my daughter's situation,"
she angrily replied. The irony, how often do you think people feel like that when you're standing on the sidewalk yelling at them? So anyway, the following Saturday, she was back, pleading with women entering the clinic not to murder their babies. Clinic escort, Massachusetts. That is absolutely why. The irony, the fact that these people can't take a step back and realize that how do you think the people that you're yelling at feel then? Like, oh, you can't possibly understand. Okay, but you think you can understand everyone else, right? Because that's what you're saying. That's what you're saying, that you're some kind of superior being and you always know what's right, even in situations you know nothing about. But the same doesn't apply to you. Oh, that is insane. That is so insane. We too have seen our share of anti-choice women, one with the counselors usually grit their teeth over. Just last week, a woman announced loudly enough for all to hear in the recovery room that she thought abortion should be illegal. Amazingly, this was her second abortion within the last few months, having gotten pregnant again within a month of the first abortion. The nurse handled it by talking about all the carnage that went on before abortion was legalized and how fortunate she was to be receiving safe professional care. However, this young woman continued to insist it was wrong and should be made illegal. Finally, the nurse said, "Well, I guess we won't be seeing you here again, not that you're not welcome." Later on, another patient who had overheard this exchange thanked the nurse for her remarks. Yeah, that's absolutely bonkers. The only moral thing is the thing that I do, even if other people do exactly the same thing. Absolutely wild. We saw a woman recently who, after 4 attempts and many hours of counseling, both at the hospital and our clinic, finally, calmly and uneventfully had her abortion. 4 months later, she called me on Christmas Eve to tell me that she was not and never was pro-choice, and that we failed to recognize that she was clinically depressed at the time of her abortion. The purpose of her call was to chastise me for not sending her off to the psych unit instead of the procedure room. But you're in an abortion clinic. I imagine that is not the same place you go to get diagnosed for depression. These are vastly different things. I imagine it's like going to the dentist and asking them if you have cancer. It's like, it's the wrong place, and I don't think it's their responsibility to do so. You are an adult, after all. That also seems to be one reoccurring theme with people like this. Even if they go through with something that was their wish at the time, it was the other person's fault for not recognizing they were compromised somehow. These people are unbelievable, man. This kind of stuff makes me so sad as well, because so often it's people that are peer pressured or pressured by their environments or families or whatever it might be. For example, the girl that was part of like the anti-choice organization, and then she had to have an abortion herself, but still wanted to keep it a secret. Like, of course, not telling the world that you have an abortion is fine because it's a very personal thing, right? That's not the point, but the point is that it becomes vastly hypocritical when you want to be able to do something but deny everyone else. Only your choice is the moral one. Or for example, the young girl with her parent that then was pushed to like go to the protest anyway. Like, that is awful. That is so awful. And I see this reoccurring a lot, especially in news that come out of the US, that a lot of the time people that are very outspoken about these sort of things are perfectly fine with doing them themselves when it becomes relevant, but they're not fine with other people doing it. It's a very weird phenomenon, and I feel very sad for people that get stuck in that sort of position. Like, for example, the young girl that was pushed to like go to these protests by her mom and peers, even though she had to get an abortion herself. That is so sad. I know that some of these stories are a bit older, of course, but this is still very much an occurring concept. I rebuke you in the name of Satan. So me and my 2 boyfriends were shopping at Walmart. Of course, it's a Walmart. We were looking at like coffee makers or something when a woman comes up to us and is chatting with us in a pretty friendly way. Then it takes a turn and she makes it obvious why she's even in the store. She keeps inviting us to a Bible study group and repeating no thanks and I'm sorry we aren't interested is simply not deterring her. Oh my god, okay, she's out in her local Walmart to save the gays from hellfire. Oh yes indeed, it's not harassment because it's in the name of Jesus or whatever. For context, I am a lifelong atheist who's never stepped foot in a house of worship. One of my partners is a believer in Wicca and expressly rejects Christianity. My other partner had some pretty serious trauma as a result of his extremely Christian parents and family. Needless to say, none of us would entertain going to this group. 2 aisles and like 15 minutes away, she is still following us, trying to invite us, and she's clearly just getting more stubborn about this. She is actually starting to get a little salty and trying to guilt trip us. I'm sure your parents would be happy that you were taking care of your souls, is one example I can remember. Oh, great. I am a pretty patient person and I hate confrontation, but it was around this time I got irritated past a gentle no. I put my hands in the air in a Baphomet pose and yell at her, "Hail Satan!" I know that's probably not how those hand gestures or anything like work, but it served its purpose. She finally ran away like I pepper sprayed her, and I believe she actually left the store because I didn't see her again while finishing up shopping. Oh, these kind of people blow my mind. It's kind of similar, right, to the trans story we have earlier, when it's like, oh my god, I'm gonna inquire about what's in your pants. Normally that would be sexually harassment, but now it's fine because trans is, you know, it's like those people. But now it's the same thing. Harassment and following people around, pestering them about stuff is fine as long as it's for this specific thing. It's absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. This is just harassment, lady. You were following them around trying to convince them to do something they did not want to do for 15 minutes in a public space. This is just harassment. What the But it's good, saving souls or whatever. Woo! I have fricked girls before. Oh no, it's the consequences of your actions. So this happened a few days ago at my 22F new job in a cafe. It was my 3rd day and my boss had already been a real peepee about some stuff. For example, there was this lady with her friend. After taking their orders, he came to me and said, "I was so shocked. This woman has more leg hair than me." Which led to me just educating him a little about leaving other people be. Situations like this have happened a lot in the first 2 days. But then on day 3, he overstepped a line. He told me about a guy who had come into the cafe one day and asked where the nearest gay bar was. The funny thing is that I imagine this boss would be super offended if the same thing happened to him. "Oh man, you are very hairy in places you shouldn't be," or whatever. Like, "Oh, how could you? Ah!" But he's perfectly fine with doing that to others. Like, so many of these stories just fall into like a very nice little hypocrisy category. Just a nice little observation. My boss then went on and said that his opinion is that all gays were sick and acting unnaturally and all that crap. What he didn't know, despite me being a perfectly normal heterosexual relationship, I am actually bisexual. So in that moment of him openly disrespecting me and a lot of my friends, I snapped. I said, very loudly so that everyone who was in the kitchen at the time could hear it, "Well, did you know I have fricked girls before?" Then turned on my heel, walked to the front of the store and did some work. He was quite speechless. Later he approached me and said in a very quiet and ashamed way, I really did not want to know that." We argued for some time and he proceeded to let loose some shite takes like, it's only gay men who are sick, not gay or bi women." Oh my god, you're not only ragingly homophobic and really stupid and rude, you're also a coward about it. You can't even own your homophobic take. You have to like backtrack for the people around and be like, "Oh, gays are sick, but not you though. That because you confronted me, so you're fine, but like all the others are..." Oh my god. Oh my, Jesus Christ, man. And when I told him that I have a lot of gay friends, men and women, he backed off and just babbled about not being allowed an opinion. No, you're allowed an opinion, you expressed the opinion, and now you look like a schmuck because you're obviously very stupid. That is that's your freedom of speech. You have the freedom to look like a moron in public. That is perfectly within your rights, fam. No one is denying you an opinion, we're just acknowledging that you're a moron. I was very mad, but just proceeded with my day at some point, and we agreed to just not talk about stuff like that anymore. Oh my god, I'm not allowed to have my opinion anymore. No, you're perfectly allowed to have your opinion, but my opinion about your opinion is that your opinion is dumb. And also there's something to be said about opinions that are like genuinely harmful towards other people, right? Like that is something weird. Like I don't think you would respect, for example, if someone came to you and be like, oh, heterosexuals should all be put in camps or whatever. I think you would find that kind of like threatening and invasive and stuff, and maybe you wouldn't think like, oh, everyone is entitled to their opinion, blah, 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 blah. I think you would be pretty rightfully pissed at this person who said that. There is a difference between like wishing harm on people and just like having an opinion. Having an opinion is like, cilantro is gross. That's an opinion. Being like, these people don't deserve human rights. It kind of transcends just like casual opinion territory, you know? The girls talk back. This former colleague's story is such a good one, I thought I would share. I don't know or remember all the intricate details, so I have fleshed it out from memory of circumstances told to me. My friend, let's call her Brenda, was working as a clerk in a hospital in a large outpatient clinic. One of the on-site IT support officers was a middle-aged guy we would call Jeff. Jeff was a bit of a sleaze, so no one particularly liked it when he was the person who came over to answer service calls. He was also the type of worker who somehow always had time to pop by and say hello. Jeff would never make eye contact. Instead, he was in the habit of talking at women's bobs. Jesus Christ. The eyes up here sort of thing really applies to good old Jeff, huh? Oh man. Being a hospital clinic, it was pretty much all women working there, nurses and admin. So his open leering was uncomfortable for everyone. Brenda had not been at this workplace for a long time and was already sick of his behavior. One morning, when Jeff was yet again dropping by the clinic area, he walked in and said, "Good morning, ladies," while staring directly at Brenda's bobs. Does he like tell the bobs good morning? Is that what he means by the plural? Like, good morning, ladies. You have two nice personalities there. Is that what he means? Is that the vibe of this whole thing, or was there actually more people in the room? Who knows? It's a bit of a 50-50, isn't it? Brenda decided enough was enough. She grabbed her bobs in her hands and replied, "Good morning, Jeff. How are you today?" while moving them up and down, making her girls do the talking. Oh, she did like a, "Good morning, Jeff. How are you doing today?" Oh, that is hilarious. I love Brenda. He, of course, was looking straight at them at the time. After realizing he had been caught out, Jeff was suddenly for the first time making eye contact with Brenda, and she could see the embarrassment wash over him. Suffice to say, he made a hasty and silent retreat, and his impromptu visits ceased for that day. He still attended for service calls, but only when other IT team members couldn't, and avoided talking to the staff as much as possible, which was a win for everyone. Wanted to note, this was before opening in the morning, so not in view of any patients or visitors. That is so funny. That is so funny. And it falls into the same category again. You know, person that doesn't understand boundaries and is kinda nasty is really sensitive when called out. Man, that should be an entire category. Well, laddies, lasses, and lassos, I do hope you enjoyed these beautiful stories of Traumatize Them Back just as much as I did. And also remember, oh god, I tossed them everywhere. Oh no, the consequences of my actions. There's also Halloween plushies coming out in the near future, so that's fun. Keep a lookout for that. I'm looking for it. I can't wait for this Halloween, man. It's gonna be so good. Anyway, have an amazing rest of your day, you wonderful, beautiful beings, and I will see you again in the very near future. Take care. Mwah.